All right. Looks like we have most people here. So, Jackie, if you just want to give us a kind of quick introduction to yourself and how you found Handshake and started working on the Kyokan team.
Yeah. Well, good morning to everyone. I guess good evening to everyone. It's morning here where I'm at. My name is Jackie. I've been in the crypto space for probably over 5 years now. Started as doing something non-engineering related early on in my career. And at some point I make the switch to engineering and started working at some Bay Area startup. And then at some point, Dan, who is the other co-founder of Kyokan, he, he basically um, went all in on this crypto space, and he was like telling me all about it to a point where one time we basically went to Japan together. It was supposed to be like a fun trip, but then he just wouldn't shut up talking about crypto. Um, and then at some point, I was like, "Hey, dude, like, what is this thing you keep talking about while we're on a trip?" And then he convinces me that this thing is gonna change the world. I left my full-time job, started Kyokan with him, and at the beginning, we started contributing to a few Ethereum project in the space, namely MetaMask and um, Chain, if you guys have heard of it, and some Plasma projects. We did that for a few years, and then that's when we ran into a few Handshake co-founders. Because of our experience in building wallets, that's kind of where we came in with helping the Handshake team. We really like the vision of rebuilding the internet and locking it open. Like kind of this is a passion of mine too since I was young, that I feel like the internet was this open space and had this like free spirit in it. But until recently, um we start to see how many things change. Um it's not different from how a lot of technology over time stuck with being more open and then slowly switching to being more closed and regulated. Most of the time, not for the better, but for the sake of using this control to psyops or whatever we want to call it. And this is kind of where we match really well with the Henshin co-founding team. And I think something like a decentralized root zone is a good place to start to rebuild the internet along with the rest of the crypto community. Yeah, what is the roadmap for Bob? Um, I would say the a lot of the focus right now is on Bob extensions, and I think um, I think to make Handshake really accessible and to make building Handshake apps a bit more decentralized, I think having something like a Bob extension is really important. So a lot of the I would say a lot of the full features are already there, but we are trying to test it out with many decentralized app ideas. So with that, I would say the focus is really on building Bob as an ecosystem so that different apps can plug into it. Fauci has been doing a lot, 0x7 on their domain name evaluation project, also trying to integrate with Bob, and I think those are really good place to start. And I welcome like all the team who's building in the Handshake space to reach out to me. Any suggestion that people can make to make Bob 3 better, I think we'll be able to make Handshake adoption go that much quicker. The idea is that similar to how most of the DeFi project uses MetaMask as their identity and their login mechanisms, I think Bob can do the same thing for DWebs.
Handshake Jesus asked. Kurumi mentioned in the ShakeDex AMA a new node being built. What is the latest there?
Yeah, he was Gloomy was playing with new Handshake wallet no implementation. It's called GoHand because he implemented in Go. Um, he he mainly is trying to build a more performance node that maybe Bob can use. So a lot of the feature he was trying to do is to make it more lightweight, and also make the data indexing a little bit more flexible. So for example, the current handshake node implementation, um, when you do a lot of queries, you actually have to do pretty heavy queries. Like when you query all bits, there's no way to get just bits that are currently active. The way that is indexed, you actually have to query everything, and then you have to query the status of the bits, and then from there you find out what are the active bits or bits that you lost. So he was trying to make that layer a little bit more efficient by how he indexed the data. He also was um was doing that as like a way to really dig deep into Shikdex to see how the wallet and Shikdex can be better integrated together. So a lot of those ideas, I think I can also bring it back to Bob. For example, Shikdex right now uses a new private key for every name listing that you do. But we can actually use the same seed phrase to generate the private key using a custom path. That way, the user doesn't have any private key to backup, which should have been a design choice, but it wasn't. But through Gloommy's work on Gohan, that's what we found out. And yeah, we're gonna kind of slowly make everything better. If Gloomy decides to keep going with the Gohan node, my intention is maybe we can give that node a shot, build a special version of Bob for him, and let him test it out to see if it's worth productionizing.
So you guys work really close with Karumi since there's the whole ShakeDex integration and the whole Block Explorer integration. If you want to touch on the kind of Block Explorer integration with the Handshake extension, and then like just kind of wondering like how is it to work with Karumi, who's fully anon.
Yeah, it's really fun. So we have like this dude that came out, kind of preferred to be anonymous, and then started doing these really awesome things in Handshake. And he is it's kind of rare that someone has the technical ability and the community alignment to build the right project in any space, not just this space. So the idea of like a ownerless decentralized exchange for names, I think matches really well with not just the web but DeFi. And yeah, and when that first happened, I basically was like, "Hey, this is a really cool protocol. Um, where can I contribute? Where can I come in to help this community member to have a more successful project?" So my my expertise is in front end and in uh, app integration. So that's I kind of just go in, do what I can do on the ShakeDex interface, and allow Gloomy to focus more on making ShakeDex protocol better. So that's kind of like when we first overlap with each other. Um, and as we were doing the ShakeDex kind of partnership, or when we collaborate together on the ShakeDex UI, we realized that the Bob extension, which was non-existent at the time, um, could really make the whole thing work much better. And once we start playing with that idea, we also had this idea of like, oh, we could just have like a a auction discovery interface that allow users to bid on TLDs, not just on secondary market. And we basically started to brainstorm like with Bob extension, how many what kind of features from the Bob wallet and from other things can we break apart into its own separate decentralized app on the web on the browser. And Block Explorer was like the second thing that we had. So we talked about it, and then like a week later, Gloomy just shipped it. And that was kind of the cool thing. He was like, "Hey, here's the Blog Explorer that we talked about." And then I was like, "Okay, cool. Let me try to integrate Bob extension with it." At the time, it was like 50% complete. Yeah, the whole thing is like really organic, really fun, a little bit chaotic, but um, maybe chaotic is the wrong word. It's really enthusiastic in some way because no one is really asking anyone for permissions. We just kind of did our thing and then give it to the other person. And that was kind of the nature of our work together.
Then, what's kind of your like next thing that you're going to be adding to Bobbleheader? What's like kind of your top priority right now?
Our priority right now is actually just stability. Through using the web extension in the first during the first phase, we found out the hosted infrastructure need to be more stable in order to reliably onboard more people. So that is definitely the biggest priority that me and Kurumi is working on right now. And then we have another community member, Triple W415. He did the redesign for Shikdex and Block Explorer. So there's something that I'm looking forward to implement as well after the Bob extension is stabilized. And when a lot of these things are done, like I hope to spend my time again back in decentralized social where my passion lies. But yes, Nomad. Yeah, I was saying a lot of the core dev on the HSD team is working toward like staying a lot of the security issue stuff, making the protocol better. And I think that's gonna bring a lot of like adoptions and more um, more mature integrations with some of these web applications in the ways that ENS and other naming system can really um, or they aren't really working on it. So in some way they are not really trying to catch up. It's just we're working on a different level of on the naming system. And on my side, like I want to come in with like a separate style of things. I think naming system or this decentralized domain name is perfect for social media use case and decentralized media use case. So that's where the Nomad project originally comes in. And if anyone has been focusing on or has looked into the DeFi space and what people has been crypto Twitter and what people have been like waving on about. I think a lot of people are already start to catch on this decentralized social wave that is going to hit us probably before we know it. I think with the current climate of politics and just information gating from everyone, um, a platform like that it's not only cool technically anymore. It's kind of necessary for everyone. So yeah, like if anyone want to contribute about, please connect with me. And I want to get back to building cool things. Well, I am building cool things right now. I want to get back to building more cool things.
Speaking of building other cool things, one project that's kind of probably in the back end right now, but uh, Nomad and Footnote. What's the kind of situation on that?
Yeah. Footnote was the things that I was talking. I mean, Nomad was the thing that I was talking about. The reason why it kind of just couldn't be maintained further is because Footnote version 1, the protocol was had a lot of issues with syncing and with staying um basically there's a lot of issues on the peer-to-peer layer where it makes data syncing difficult um on people with either multiple devices behind the same router or just don't. It's not really designed for like a personal node use case. It's designed for people wanting a full-on node that is always on. And Nomad wasn't like it didn't really fit Nomad's use case because people would go in and out a lot. And because of the sync issues, I realized that if we want a lot of nodes, we would basically be wanting centralized infrastructure and kind of like a Mastodon singleton. So after that, I think the creator of Footnote has been working on V2, and during the time we sort of went okay. I think like if V2 is going to fix a lot of these issues, um, we we can focus on other thing first. Wait till V2 is done, and then we just gonna pick up from there again. Um, yeah, a lot of these other issues that I was also thinking with is also the ecosystem wasn't as well supported as we are right now. Also the wallet space, we didn't have an extension, so when we were trying to onboard to Nomad, people actually have to write down a separate seed phrase, or they have to like write down a separate private note, private key somewhere, and that was kind of like a user experience nightmare. So part of the realization is also that like Handshake as an ecosystem was still kind of early at the time. We didn't have enough tools to support this kind of visions, and I think we are now. And by talking to the Footnote team, I think they are almost ready as well. So hoping hoping maybe by the end of this year, there's not an ETA or or anything. Like what I hope is that by the end of this year we're gonna hear some update from the folks, and then we can pick up the ball again.
And then Dee's dropped a question about how your current funding situation is kind of going.
Yeah, funding situation. We are funded for basically for our current size team. Like we are not really funded to like expand the team, like even by a factor of two or two or three. So but when it comes to normal day-to-day operations, we're pretty good on that. In that like me, um, and then we'll continue to basically make our vision happen.
Then, out of curiosity, how many other people are on the Kyokan team?
Right now, it's just me and Dan. We used to have a team working with Ethereum side of things, with um, MetaMask, but we no longer work with that team. Basically, we gave that team to MetaMask, and right now it's me, Dan, and then with working with us while he's in school, and hopefully if With is interested like this, With is here, so I'm trying to giving him public pressures. But yeah, With is like another person that kind of came out of nowhere. Just started like don't didn't ask for any permissions. Just started to write code. Started to contribute to all these projects in Handshakes. Started to build awesome tools. And that is kind of like when me and Dan were looking at the community, and we're like, oh, who can we get to help on Bob more? And he's the natural name that came up like with all his staff activities. And yeah, we're really fortunate to be working with him throughout this summer, and more great things to come.
And then, what kind of issues have you kind of run in with building Bob and just being with such a small team?
I would say prioritization is the biggest problem. And because of these issues, like sometimes I kind of have to do things the toe step way. Maybe it's like a little too. I would yeah, a little toe steppy maybe. Like there is sometimes I could probably contribute more back to HSD, or to coordinate with like Zip and the HSD team um better before I put the changes in Bob. But sometimes with these prioritization issues, it actually was easier and much quicker for me to basically tweak HSD in Bob for a little, and then package the new versions. So I would say the tricky part there early on is to finding out the right balance, like how much can I actually tweak Bob, or how much can I actually tweak the HSD inside Bob, before I make a mess. And we have a pretty good like um, grab on it. Like we have a pretty good cadence on it now with SIP advising on a lot of these wallet security issues. But yeah, like I would say prioritization is definitely one of the biggest problem. Like right now, I'm pretty much looking at building out Bob Desktop. Like yeah, the big project I guess would be like Bob Desktop. We're trying to make night mode SPV node happen. Bob extensions we're trying to stabilize and put it in the hands of more people. And then we have like Block Explorer and ShakeDex redesign coming. So like with these four things, I think each of them takes like a full-time person, probably like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So with one person tackling all of it, they basically take like a few months to finish um, all these four projects. So prioritizations like what can I spend my time on next to make the most impact in the space, and just overall man hours. Um, there's only 24 hours in a day, and I sleep and eat like everybody does. So there's only so much time to work on stuff. Yeah. So Handshake Jesus asks, regarding priorities, as I see it, what does Handshake need more than anything? I think we need I think we're ready for adoptions, and I am a kind of pragmatic type of guy. Like my background is in product engineering, so the way I see it is that we need many people trying different things all at once, um and to bring more adoptions into space. Something that the Ethereum space had early on is that like well, first there were a lot. That code space is more better funded as well. So there's definitely a big difference. Like there's money, so there's adoptions, and then there's adoptions, so there's more money. It's like a chicken and egg problem. But I think it did started with like people having a almost idealistic idea of like how the world should work, and that fantasy like if we put it in like you can create fantasy, or you can also create like real convictions. Like with that real convictions, like they're able to build a project to a point where it gathers a lot of interest, not just from the space but from the adjacent space as well. And then the effort kind of snowball, right? um the way that I see Handshake need is the same kind of more adventurous type of thinking, more a little like we can try out different things. Like we have the ecosystem, we have the engineers, like we have really good engineers in Handshake compared to a lot of the other decentralized team. And I think we can try out a lot of different things to make things work really well. Like I think this Sia and Akash thing, the idea of integration been floating around for a while, but right now it's still kind of hard to deploy a website on a simple interface that is decentralized. Um, right now, there is still kind of hard to like sign up for an email address just with my Bob wallet, and then I can send it from a simple interface using a decentralized system. So those are kind of the things that I think we can try out more, right? Like it's not the reason why we kind of love the idea of Handshake is that it's not just trying to have a decentralized wisdom and try to build all the same business on top, because that would be um, that would just end up with the same results. Like we want to have this new layer of possibility, and then we build new solutions on top without compromising on the idea. So um, I would say like more crazy ideas that people want to try. There's less centralized, more futuristic. Would be my um, would be what I say the priority is. But I come from a background of product engineers, and I definitely that's the tendency I tend to think. Yeah, so these as what functionality do I wish Bob extension had personally that I unable to prioritize? If I have more time, I'll probably look into how to deploy a website or how to connect to a name server using Bob, and I would probably look at some decentralized solutions to make that happen. That would be something that I would look into. I would probably also look into how to make decentralized naming server a reality, and then integrate it with Bob, because I think both of those things is pretty important, and they are probably they like right now our solution is still very much centralized DNS, and there's self hosting too, but not everybody can self host. So I think if I can clone myself and look into something that I add to Bob, or add adjacent to Bob, that's probably what I would look at. Handshake Jesus says, if I had one hard fork and it could include anything, what would be included? What are my thoughts about percentage of block we were going to death on? Not sure what the options would be, but I think the first thing that I would probably look at is burning fees. That's kind of um, like very, very early on. I think there was also the debate that like how should we treat all the fees, and I think with 1559 in ETH, it kind of proved that this concept is not only um, doesn't doesn't only work. It's kind of like the preferred way to distribute value fairly around the whole ecosystems. Um, I think distributing percentage of block world toward Defn is definitely cool. The question would be who's behind this Defn? Like who holds a multi-sig signature, right? Like if we look at the whole space right now, we can probably figure out a few core staff that hold the multi-sig key, um, and then the idea would kind of just go, okay, like how do we manage that key? How does governance on that key works? And I think those are really key. With a with a lot of us with real identity assigned, behind our name, like the responsibility or the liability of holding that key to a multi-sig debt fund also increase. So that's something that I kind of think about as well. Like if there's a debt fund and it require multi-sig, and these people with our name and face attached to it has to hold the key, what's like where's the weakest link when it comes to like being regulated, being um or having like repercussion back to us, right? Like if handshake is having not just handshake, right? I'm basically talking about more crypto in general. Like we are kind of there's a lot of legal liability in this space, and a lot of things hasn't been figured out yet. So with like this Stefan, it would be great if it can happen in a more permissionless manner where it doesn't allow for things like that to be a distraction instead of actually instead of like having extra stuff to distract. It will be helpful toward all the developments. Any specific idea of things for handshake or footnote I want to see try out? Bob and name server hookup definitely high interest. Yeah, handshake and footnote. I say name server is definitely probably the first one, and the email would be the second. And the reason why is that like I said, name server right now is very much centralized. You have and nothing about building centralized, like nothing wrong about building centralized business on top of handshake. I think those are important, and those needs to exist to smooth out the UX in the space. Um, but you kind of have your like right hand heavy punch, which is decentralized business on top. Right now we kind of like missing a jab, which is the decentralized options. What are the decentralized options? Like for all the auctions that is flourishing in handshake, we have our right hand heavy punch pretty well developed. Like we have a few auctions platform that does really well. We have name base, but I say like I want to see our jab develop better. And like with footnotes, I think naming server would open things up to a open up possibility to a different role for us. Like there's a lot of journalists that are getting banned. There's a lot of websites that's getting taken down um, for talking about the wrong things, especially during this political climate. Making these things deploying things easier, making resolving easier without a central party. Um, I very much believe in we build it and these people will see and they will come. So if I have a clone right now, I'll probably try to build a name server standard on top of footnote, making a complete open network. Anyone can run a name server, read data from this public storage, indexed by names, and then anyone can help host and make the handshake resolving network better. That's definitely something that I would look into. What's my favorite TLD? Favorite TLD that I own. TLD that I wish I own. TLD that I wish I own would be JC. TLD that I own that is my favorite. I have this bra, like bra. Like I have this TLD. Like that's kind of like my favorite one. For no particular reason. Like I don't think it has any resale value better. Like I don't think it has like that high of a resale values, but I think yeah, dark bra. Um, I would say that's kind of like my personal favorite. Yeah, I think I had the opportunity to buy Doc JC, but at that time I didn't have the foresight to to buy all the two letters name, which is too bad. I have some emojis. I have some emojis TLD that I like to.
The community can kind of help by stress testing your products. Are there any other things that the community could help with?
Yeah, stress testing would be like the ideal, and keep the feedback back. Like go to Bob's Discord, drop all the feedback that you can. Um, I think on the extension side, like when building on MetaMask, we had like at the beginning it was choppy, and then there's like all these community feedback that make it better. And it's MetaMask has a pretty good UX now, but it took multiple years to make that happen. We are we are kind of in the early phase right now, and yeah, if anyone is more adventurous, like download Bob extensions, try to start to do things the decentralized web way, where use the extension along with ShakeDex, which is gonna happen soon. Use the extension along with Block Explorer to auctions. Um, you'll probably run into some UX issues that I didn't think of. And yeah, if you send me a list, I can make those happen. I can prioritize and make those happen. And I think with like enough rounds of that, we will have a good extension ecosystem, not just for the end users, but for developer in the space right now. Oh yeah, and especially if you're a developer, like when you're integrating with Bob extensions, if there's any API that you wish you see or you wish can be better, let me know, or open a PR or open issues in Bob extensions. Um, I think that's the other side that we sometimes miss, which is like UX for the developer. Like it's also a chicken and egg problem. If we make that easier, we'll see better apps. Yeah, I think like the yeah, there are a couple of projects that I really would like to see more integration with Bob. Like would you be like Fauci's project and HMail. I think those are really promising candidate that can open up decentralized possibility in their respective space. And yeah, like it is my goal to like make Bob extension easy to use enough where Fauci and the HTML guy can just come in and make things happen. Can I explain footnote? Yes. That footnote is basically a peer-to-peer storage layer that uses your name as an indexing layer. So think of it as like a giant BitTorrent network where everybody kind of like is adding, deleting, and kind of like syncing this giant BitTorrent. Um, but then if you have a giant BitTorrent file, like you don't know where to read things more efficiently. But if that file is like broken down by 50 million pieces, and each handshake name own one, you can then like look up each of the names broke into the blob, broke into the space more efficiently, and that is basically like footnotes. You define a fixed size limit for the entire network, and then you allow each name to own their own piece. And the idea is that this is supposed to be a unstoppable storage layer on top of Handshake that make a lot of things work. It was designed without a token. It is still designed without a token, and that is kind of by design as well. Like it should make integration easy with like many different things, perhaps not just Handshake, and perhaps not just for social. And if you sometimes if you like put an incentive on top, it's difficult to be as open as you can. So I believe that was the first design. It's not my idea. It's very much Joseph, the creator of Footnote and the creator of Handshakes, his idea. And yeah, like a unstoppable storage layer on top of internet names that you can do a lot of things with. Second question is, don't know if this has been asked, but is there any plans for Bob to do secondary sales? Or am I focused on integrating ShickDex? ShickDex integration is definitely the thing. There's no plan for Bob to have his own secondary market. I think ShickDex being an ownerless protocol is kind of a perfect match for secondary sales. So making ShickDex better and to integrate with it would be the plan. Right now, Bob is already integrated. Like Bob Desktop is already integrated with ShickDex, and you can already use ShickDex secondary sales inside Bob Desktop. And yes, ShickDex can work over footnotes once it's launched. Like a lot of the issues when building decentralized app is like the discovery problem. Like if you have IPFS hash, where do I put it? Like do I put it on my name record? If I put it on my name record, it will like cost me fees every time. And when hash goes up, like it means my cost of updating would increase over time as the network grow. So the really nice thing about footnotes is that it's unstoppable and it's feeless. You can have and it's indexed by names, so you can like have a lot of these different protocol working together, and basically using footnote as an indexing layer. And ShickDex is a perfect example of it. Name server would be another, and I think social would be another. That's kind of like what we were talking about earlier.
Sulu is commenting that he bought and submitted a few names on ShakeDex and would love the process to be a bit smoother and faster.
Yeah, like feel free to go to ShakeDex Discord or even in Bob Discord. Just ping me and clue me. We can like jam on ideas on making that a little bit smoother. I think when it comes to like there's some technical details that cannot be skipped. For example, like it does take the whole transfer period to lock your name to a script, and then it does take that X amount more time to finalize it. Those things can really be make faster, but I think they can be make smoother. Like With has been working on this like pre-sign thing. Even with transfer, I think you can pre-sign and finalize. So by pre-sign thing, I means like you can make a bid and then pre-sign for a reveal and then and then broadcast it later at the right time so that you don't have to be online to review your bits. So I think like we can do things like that and make that smoother. But yeah, anyways, like drop into our Discord. Feel free to jam in us. There's a ShickDex channel in Bob. There's also a ShickDex Discord. Like drop us your comments. We'll definitely take it seriously. Heard I am speaking a name corn. What will I talk about? Given that these are mostly traditional domain, and what is the message? Not your keys, not your TLDs. Yeah, I am still thinking about what to tailor to the traditional domainer. I think like talking about Bob and talking about decentralized name, like why this decentralized name custody is important is kind of the basic message that I want to build on top. I also want to talk about the possibility of like what new possibility does a handshake name like give you, right? Like I think a lot of the traditional domainer, they already know what I can do with a traditional domain name. What can you do with a handshake name? Maybe not a lot now, but what can you do with a handshake name in the future? How is this space going to change? Those are the like what I can speak with. I can only speak with things that I know. So I don't really know how the space is going to change. It's anyone's guess. But I can talk about what sort of things I'm trying to build on top of it. That way, the domainers will see that it's sort of a different energy, different game going on with this new system of names. If you have suggestions on like how to make that talk better, let me know. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like what is the best message there as well. But it will definitely be around Bob. It will definitely be around decentralized auction, so Block Explorer and ShakeDex, and then whatever I can do to make it better. I mentioned interest in D-Web social tech. Any specific idea around that? I think there's potential for the standard stuff like Web mentioned to take over here? I am not familiar with Web mentions. I think for a lot of the web platform, well, for a lot of decentralized project, our our edge over traditional centralized system is our composability. So we we cannot build a closed garden. We cannot have a winner take all mentality. We have to make sure we build things that other people can build on top. Like my general go to is to have a big vision on a project and then try to make sure each module is composable, not just for you within the project. That's just good engineering practice, but also like for anyone in the space to kind of use the module and build on top. Refer back to DeFi. You see, DeFi did that really well. Like Uniswap basically did. Like they had this AMM contract, and right now everything is building on top of it now. And then other people comes in with yield farming, and everybody started building yield farming. But it started with one contract, which is that AMM contracts. So with DWeb, I think it's very much going to be very much going to go the same way. We have to keep things composable. That's how we compete with the big guys. Like as a decentralized community, it's very difficult for us to like be better coordinated than a centralized army of Twitter engineers. But we can probably be a lot more composable and be a lot more like liquid, a lot more like water. Yeah, that might not be as technical as you were trying to get, but that's kind of like the general ideas. And when I heard you say stuff about web mention, that's kind of what I think about. Like I think adopting a popular standard around all these things is important. So I think activity pub is a good standard, and because there's already a network on top of it, like we should definitely make sure our data can map to activity pub. That way, people can read that data programmatically. Doing HandyCon Chango mentioned Kyokan working on Web Handshake that's available later this year. Is that still a thing? We were looking into it, but we weren't working on it. So that is fake news. Who is my favorite Handshake community member? Like it may yeah, to be honest, I like all the people that I can't see their names. So I like Fistful, I like Handshake Jesus, I like Kiba, I like that whole community where they kind of come from. Like Sipkin is still kind of like part of their core team, right? Like we started like from the beginning. Like I really like the maybe not the second generation, maybe 1.5 generations, like because we didn't expect them. Like I didn't expect to see that many people joining the space with this kind of interest. I also didn't expect all these people to be anon and to be sued. I am very much a supporter of the suit economy thing, and to see interest from that side is definitely one of my favorite things about Handshake.
I think we'll call it. Thanks for joining us on here and answering all of our questions.
Thank you. It's my pleasure speaking with everyone. Join the Discord and feel free to give me comment anytime. It will help my work a lot to make sure the right things get prioritized first.
Well, everybody here, thank you for coming in, stopping by. It's good to have all this support behind these. So I hope everybody has a good morning, evening, or night wherever you are in the world.
Yeah, thank you, Fistful, for organizing this. I will speak to you all next time.